Hello friends, welcome back. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about storage in Android. So we are going to see in this tutorial internal storage, external storage, how to save and access files in both of the storages, what is the scope storage concept and why Android has introduced this scope storage, and what are the restrictions Android has imposed as a part of the scope storage concept, and since which Android version this scope storage is made mandatory, and what is SAF, that is storage access framework. Everything we are going to learn in this tutorial. So make sure you watch the video till the end to grasp the full concept. So for now, let's get started. So let's first understand what is internal storage. Basically, we can directly save files from our application, and that files get saved in the internal storage. So basically, every app has there some reserved space given by the Android OS, and the files we create and we try to access are then stored at that location. And this directory is not visible to any other app. This is private. I mean, whatever the files you create, your app only will be able to access them, and another app doesn't have permission. Even file manager cannot find that. So this is called internal storage. So this is a good and secure storage, but it has some limitations, like it has some storage limit. So Android OS has not made any restrictions, made any statement of restriction of the storage space for this, but device manufacturers might impose certain types of storage for this. Maybe they can storage they can impose a storage limit of about 100 to 150 MB for all of the applications internal storage. So your app might get near about 20 to 25 MB of that storage. So in some cases, this space might not be sufficient enough. So we might need to use external storage to save our media or other files. That's why we have to use the external storage. And one more thing, there is no permission needed in order to save any file in this storage. We can directly save without user consent. So now, what is external storage? So every space we have on our phone except this as specific storage is called as external storage, which can also called as shared storage. And it till Android 9, we have these two permissions: read external storage and write external storage. So this permission can unlock our full external storage. So basically, if we ask, and we have to ask the permission, ask user for these permissions at runtime, and if user allows us, then our app can access the whole shared storage. But this might impose a security, this might create a security threat for our application. So because some malicious app might take this permission and then might misuse our files. For that purpose, the scope storage concept has been introduced. In which both of these two permissions cannot help to access us full storage. That's why scope storage has been introduced. So the external scope storage is introduced in Android 10 and has been made mandatory since Android 11. So with these two permissions, we cannot access the external storage. Basically, every application for every application, there is a specific folder is created in the shared storage in the app specific directory, and where we can save our files, and this can have as much space as you can. This doesn't have any storage space limitations, and you can save any type of media in this type of storage. So this is both a shared storage, and this is also an external storage, and we don't have any permission also required for this. We don't need to ask user any permission for this. That is the part of a scope storage concept. And now these read and write external storage permissions are now obsolete, and they are no longer needed. So if we want to save any data in our app specific directory, then we can directly save that without asking runtime permission from user. Now, in order to work with the scope storage, we have to use the SAF storage access framework to store files, and media store APIs to store any media information like images and video or audio. This type of media, we need to use the media store APIs to store as a part of scope storage, and they will be that will be stored in our pre-built directories, like directories made by Android OS, like DCIM/camera. You might have seen the folders in your Android file manager. DCAM camera, music, download, etc. These are the directories where the respective media file will be stored. And this task won't require any permission unless you are creating your own file in your own directory and accessing it. This doesn't require any special permission runtime from the user. But if you want to change change the file which is created by another application, then it definitely requires some type of permission. And with the introduction of the scope storage, whatever the sufficient permission and what are the requirements can be fulfilled of the any application, about 99% of the applications, unless your application is some type of file manager type application. If you want, if your application is of that type, like a file manager, and if you still want to access whole application, a whole directory of a application, the shared storage, then you might need to ask a runtime permission as manage external storage. So this is a new permission introduced along with the scope storage, which will grant everything access to your application. But getting this permission approved by Google is not that easy. When you submit your app to the Play Store, the Play Store, the team will check if your app has this manage external storage permission, and if your app has, then the team will review your application and will check if your app nearly reads this permission, or if your app can continue without this permission. If your app can continue without this, then they will ask you to remove this permission and use scope storage and make your task. So this is some type of theory. I know this is a bit confusing and it doesn't strike us in just one hit, but don't worry, we'll be going to see practical examples where I will share everything in front of you practically. So there will have solid and concrete understanding. So let's move towards Android Studio. So here I am in an Android Studio. It don't have any code in our main activity.kt file, and in the activity main I have just created a simple layout. I have given a heading here as a external storage, because we are will be mostly learning about external storage in this tutorial. But at first we'll be seeing how to save the file to internal storage, which is the app specific directory. So here is a file contents, whatever the contents we want to write on the file. This is the edit text we have created for that, and this button is for saving file, and this button is for loading the file, and this is the text view for whatever the contents we get after reading the specific file. So that contents will be pasted here, and this is the save file to location. This button is for SAF, that is storage access framework. So we'll see that at a later. So let's first what we want to do. We will create a on-click listener on this save file to save the file, to create and save the file in our internal storage. So the internal storage, I mean to say what the storage which is visible to only your app, private app storage directory. So let me pause. I am using the data binding in this project, so I'll just use binding dot button save file dot set on click listener, and in this I just need to uh, create a file. For that, let me create a variable for that file name equal to my file dot txt. Yes, or we can say my custom file dot txt. And here I'm clicking on this one. What we'll do, we'll create, first need to create a file object. So val file equal to file object. This requires two string. First one will be a path to the storage where we want to create the file, and second one is the name of the file along with the extension. So how you can get the path to the app specific private directory? So we can just use files dir. This will return us the requested path, and for the name I'll use file name. So that's how we have a file object. Now file is created, we need to write the contents in this file. For that we have a function file dot write text, and in this what we want to do, whatever the content user has written in this edit text, we want to write that into that file. And what is the idea of this et file contents? So I'll pass inside this function binding dot et file contents dot text dot to string. So whatever the contents we will write in that text box will be returned to this file, and our file will be created and saved in the internal storage. And we can just print a message, post message as file saved. And as we are dealing with the file operation here, it is better to use a try catch block always. So let me do this. Exception will be catching any type of exception we get, and here also I'll be uh, showing some type of message. Sorry, if I'll error saving file, and I'll also create a log statement for that. While put a log error $e dot message. I create a tag as a where file error equal to file error, and I'll use this as a tag for all of the tracking block. So now this code will create and save external file and write the contents whatever we have written in that edit text. So let's write the code similarly for accessing the file. Binding dot button load file dot set on click listener. Now what we want to do, on clicking on this load file button, we want to fill this text view with whatever the file contents we have written in the saved file. So for that, we on clicking on this button, what should happen? We want to create a file object. So and also we need to access a try catch. So let me copy the catch as well. Here it will be error reading file, and let me just copy this file object creation code as well. Here we have function file dot read text, and this function will return us whatever the file contents are written to that file. And what we want to do with it, we want to set that to our text view. So tv file contents dot text equal to file dot read text. Yeah, this only thing will do us the work. So now let's run our application and see how it works. So here our application is running, and let me put the content. This is file content, and I'll click on the save file, and we get a message file saved. And let me now click on the load file, and yes, this is file content. So whatever the we have saved here has been printed here. I mean, in the background file is created with this name my custom file.txt, and this file is getting loaded, and this contents is getting set in this text view. So now if we went to the file manager uh, of this phone, then we won't be able to find this file anywhere because it is in our internal storage. So but in device explorer we can see that file. So let me show you where it is. So in your directory data and then your app package name, this is my apps package name, and inside files, here you can see this file my custom file.txt, and if you double click on this one, this is the same text we have written in the file. This is file content. So this is where this file it gets stored, and this is how it works as a part of internal storage. So after we have understood the internal storage, now let's move toward external storage. Let me minimize this one. Now let me do one thing. Let us open the running devices, and let's go to a file manager. Here in the root storage, here you can see Android folder. So inside this Android there is a data folder, and inside this data these multiple folders you are able to see. So these are the package names of the different applications which is installed on this device. So whenever some application is installed, and if it creates a file in shared external storage, then that file can be created here without any special permissions from the user. So that this provides us a good amount of storage. There is no limit on the storage, and we can easily access it without runtime permission from the user. So that how to create this thing we will be now seeing. And this doesn't have any restrictions for the API. To do that, we don't need to make any major changes. We just need to change this file path. From files dir, so we have a function get external files dir. So get external files directory. This will return you with the app specific directory which is created for your application. So we can just pass a null for the type, and it will return us the respective path. So for the saving the file we had done, for reading the file also we will be doing that get external files dir and type as a null. So what this will do, this will create a specific directory in the external storage, and you will save your file at that location. So let me rerun the application and see how it is working. Now I'll again write this is file content in external storage for app specific directory, and I'll just click on save file. We can see file saved, and if we click on load file, we can get the exact string. Now let's terminate this application and let's go to our file manager to check where this file has been stored. Now you can see this is the package name of my application which is newly created here, and under this files name folder has been created. Under this files, my custom file.txt has been created, and if I just click on this open, I'll open the HTML viewer, and this is the same string which I have written in the text box. So this is where the file has been created, and our file manager is able to locate that file. So that file is accessible for the file manager. And in the device explorer, let me show you where this is gets saved. So let me synchronize this one. So this is the main directory. So here you can see the storage. Just open that storage and self primary, and this is the root storage where we just click where you just click on the file manager and file manager starts opens, and here you get all the directories. So this is basically a file manager, and here inside this one you can also access the Android data and your package name and then files and then your custom directory. So this same directory, so this file is now accessible for the file manager as well. So this type of storage we can use. And if you check that we have not added any permission in that, let me open the Android manifest. I have not added any runtime permission, any permission here itself, but still I am able to use the external storage with the help of this app specific directory. So this is one of the type which is called as scope storage. So this is not the only scope storage, but there are other things as well. So let me tell that one by one. So from the introduction of scope storage, we have we have been told that you can make use of the directory for fully functioning of your application. Even the WhatsApp also uses the same thing. Just try going to your Android data folder. There you will see your WhatsApp package name, and there you will see all of the files, items sent or received, all the documents are stored there. So this is how WhatsApp is also managing their storage, and Android is enforcing us to use this type of storage. Now, if we look at the emulator, this emulator is Pixel 2 API 28. So scope storage has been introduced from Android 29, Android version 10. Sorry, API level 29, Android version 10. But this emulator is of API 28, that is Android 9, which is before version of the introduction of the scope storage. So in this we can use read and write external storage permissions, and we can have access to the all file system. So let me show you how that can be done. For that we need to ask the runtime permissions. So let me write the code for the runtime permissions also. So we need to first declare the permission as write external storage in our Android manifest. Write external storage. Now it gives us a warning. For that, we need to set a max SDK version. Max SDK version will be 28, and uh, this 28 is this 28 is before scope storage. If scope storage has been introduced in API 29, but API 29 has one way to bypass this scope storage. That is, if I set this API 29, warning will come here. It will say this permission won't work, but this will work if I added one attribute in the manifest here, request legacy external storage as a true, and this warning will be gone. So Android API 29, that is Android 10, is such a version which is between the scope storage, that scope storage has been introduced in this version, but it is not made compulsory. That's why if you had put this tag in your application, then your application can bypass this scope storage enforcement. But we are not going to do that. I just wanted to make you clarify with that, and we want to set this max SDK version as a 28. So here I'll ask a runtime permission here. What are we now going to do? We are asking user for runtime permission, and once the user grants that, then we'll save the file in our external shared storage, and it will be at the root location. You have seen that we have stored the file here inside our respective folder, but now I want to store the file in this in the root storage, which is not allowed in the as a part of scope storage. But this is the API 28, so I can definitely do that with the help of this runtime permission. If I get the user consent, then I can manipulate. I can have a full storage access for this. So let me show you how that works. So I'll just write. I'll first declare permissions array. Permissions array of manifest dot permission dot write external storage. So though it is a one permission, still we need to create an array to pass it as storage, and I'll create one var has permissions will set as a false, and in the onCreate itself I will okay I will, as soon as our app launch, I will request the permission from the user. So I'll use activity compact dot request permissions. It needs three parameters. First one is activity, so I'll pass this. Second one, it needs permissions array, I'll pass permissions. And third one, it needs a request code. So that is just a unique code to identify the request and response for our permission request. So this thing will ask the runtime permission to the user, and now we need to override one function on request permissions result, and we get that autocomplete option, autocomplete function, and here it gives us three things, like request code, permissions, and grant result. So here we can check if we have been granted all the permissions. So what we'll do, we just loop over all these permissions array. So permission dot for each permission we get a permission, and if this permission has a check safe permission, we have this function to check, and we need to pass this permission parameter. If this permission is not equal to package manager dot permission granted, if at least one of the permissions is not granted, then what we'll do, we'll set this has permissions to false. And if we have looked through all the permissions, and if check say permission is always equal to, I mean all of the permission have been granted, then we'll not go any at least one time also inside this loop, and we'll come out of this loop and we'll set as permission equal to true. So that is how it will work, and we'll then check if we have the permissions or not, and we'll proceed accordingly. So basically, uh, now what we want to do, I want to save the file at the root level. So for that also I just need to change this path, environment dot get external storage directory. Now this will return me the root directory of the external storage. I'll do the same for the save as well, sorry, load as well. And now open the emulator. Let me uninstall the previous app and run the newer one to see how it works. Yeah, it has been launched and it is now asking for the permission. As soon as I launch that, and here I'll deny the permission, and here I'll write some contents, and here I'll click on save file. It is saying error saving file. Now let's check logcat what it has printed in the logcat. Pixel API 28. Yes, let me make it big. Yeah, here it is a error. What it's saying, permission denied. Because we have denied the permission, it is saying that user haven't granted the permission. That's why error is thrown as a permission denied. Now let me close this application and relaunch it. This time I allow, click on allow, and I write some contents here, and I'll just click on save file. We can see that file is saved, and we can also click on load file. The contents are been loaded. Now check in the file explorer in from the device itself and see if that file is created at the root storage. So this is the root storage. I have clicked on this, and yes, my custom file is created here in the root storage itself. And let me just click on this one to show you. These are the same contents whatever we have written in that text view, in that edit text. So this was the one security concerns that Android came to know, that in with just if the user just grants the permission once, then app can have a lifetime access of the whole file manager. They can manipulate any type of file, and basically what the application need to do, they need to access or write some their files of their own. That's why whole of the storage is not, whole storage access is not needed for that application. That's why Android has come up with the scope storage concept. Now let me try running this on the API 29 API above 29 to see the differences. My motto is here to clear us everything regarding this scope storage concept. So I'll just launch my Pixel 2, which is running API 33. Yeah, my API 33 device has been started. But before going to that, I just need to show you one thing in Pixel 2 itself. So this file we have created, right? So I have, so, and this is my application. I needed to create that file. I have created, and till my application is in user's mobile, I am I have the use, I am making the use of that file. Now user has uninstalled my application. Let's say user has uninstalled my application. He or she doesn't like me or doesn't uh, like my application. So application is no longer here. But if we open the file manager and we go to the root storage, but still the file is here. Now what's the purpose of this file? This file serves no purpose and still sitting on in the user's phone, eating up space. Now this file has a very small space, but maybe app can create bigger files and can eat up large amount of space, and this serves no purpose. So, and in this So this was also a concern uh, for once the app is uninstalled, the unused files remains the same which the app has created. So in order to get rid of this thing also, scope storage has been introduced, because the scope, and we can externally uh, delete this files as well. Because what the scope storage is asking user to do, asking developers to save the files where, it is asking to save the files only in your app specific directories if you want to uh, access the external storage. So and this folder when created, now we can just check, and here you can't see a folder of my application, because once we uninstall the application, then this folder which is created by the Android system also gets deleted. Now user has, now the Android system has a track which application created which folder, and once that application has been uninstalled, Android system automatically deletes that folder also, saving space and increasing security as a part of scope storage. So this is the important thing. The scope storage has been introduced and enforced in the later versions. Now let coming back to this API 33, and here I'll also try to run the same application. Application is starting, and yes, it is running. But even though we have written the code for asking the permission, it didn't ask the permission. Why? Because of the scope storage enforcement, and scope storage doesn't allow us to grant to get the whole file access through this single writes external storage permission. That's why it was simply denied. And let me still try to write the contents, and just let me click on the save file. It is saying error saving file. Now let me open the logcat for device which is API 33, and let me check what error it has shown. So see here, you can see the error, and open fed, what it is saying, operation not permitted. Here it is saying operation not permitted. On the APLL 2028, what it said, permission not granted or permission denied. And what here it is saying, operation not permitted. There it was giving an error that user has not granted you the permission to load, to write or read in the file. But here it is saying that you are asking the permission, that operation itself is not valid, and thus it is saying that operation not permitted. So this is the difference scope storage enforcement had made in the accessing of the files. Now if I want to save the file, even though I want to do this, how can I do that? Well, for that we can use media query or SAF, storage access framework, for that. So what is the storage access framework? It is basically type of such intents we can launch, and we can grant implicit permission from the user to save the file. Now let's understand. Now let's see how we can do that. What we are going to do, user will first write whatever the contents he or she want to write in the file, and here he or she will click on save file to location. So on clicking this one, we launch one intent, so that the user will be able to select the specific folder where he or she want to save the file. So this task doesn't require any type of permission, because as the user himself is choosing the location for the file storage, that means user is implicitly giving the permission for to our app to read or write file to that storage location. So this is how the SAF works. So to do that, I just need to again set an on-click listener on this one, on this button, binding.btn save file in download, set on-click listener. I need to create an intent. So I'll create an intent. So this intent will have the action, intent dot action, create document, because we are creating a document. and we'll do intent dot add category. So we'll add one category as intent dot category openable. Here we'll again write intent dot type, which type of this intent is. uh, that will be a text slash plain. This file will be a text slash plain, and we'll add intent dot put extra. This parameter is for giving a specific file name, for which file name we want to save the file. So we'll write put extra uh, intent dot sorry intent dot extra title. Here I'll pass the same file title, that is file name is file name, which we have defined here as my personal file.txt. Okay, so our intent is complete. Now we want to launch the intent and get back the result. But how we can do that? We have uh, a custom contracts for that. So if you don't know about contract, I would request you to please learn about that. So I'll leave the link for that contract tutorial. I'll leave the link in the description itself. So for launching the contract, what I need to do, I need to create file contract equal to register for activity result. Here I need to pass the activity result contract. So I'll just put activity result contracts dot start activity for result. Here we'll get the file will be created and we'll get the URI. So for the URI, what we can do is uh, we can just write here URI, and if we hover on this one, then sorry, it will be an activity result. We want a URI, so we can directly write a result here. So we'll as result dot data, and we need to uh, call make a safe call on this one dot let, and here we get the URI. If you can hover here, so you can see that it is a URI. So this is basically file URI, file path. And for this, using this, I'll save the file, and whatever I write the contents, whatever the user has entered into that file. So for that, I'll just create a function named as save file, and here I'll pass this URI. So in this, I'll create a function fun save file, which will accept the URI. Here I need to write the content to the file. So for that, I'll first need a parcel file descriptor equal to this dot content resolver. We need to access constant content resolver for this. This dot content resolver dot open file descriptor, and it requires two parameters. First one is the URI, which we are getting from this function, and second is the mode. So mode it will be right. So it is giving us a warning that this parcel file descriptor should be freed up after our use. So don't worry, we'll be doing that. And after that, we need file output stream. So file output stream equal to file output stream, and it requires a file descriptor. So we get that from parcel file descriptor dot file descriptor. We need to save call on this one. Now we can write our contents in the file output stream dot write, and what content we need to write, whatever the result will write here in this edit text. So this edit text at et file contents binding, sorry, binding dot et file contents dot text dot toString, and we need to convert this at to byte array. Yeah, so the contents will be returned to that respective file. Now we just need to close this our file output stream and our parcel file descriptor as well. Yeah, that's it. It will write to our file and save our file. Now we just need to launch our intent with the help of this contract. So whatever what we have named that file contract. Okay, so there it is. Yeah, file contract dot launch, and here we need to pass this intent. Now let's run this on our application and see how it works. Now let me uninstall the previous application on the API 33 also, and this adds a same behavior, and even still I am running on API 33 which has enforced scope storage. Yeah, my application is running, and here I'll write this is a file content return using SAF, secure access framework. So I'll click on save file to location. As soon as I click on this one, activity result contract has been launched, and we are here in the directory of music, and we are not seeing here the root, yeah, root directory is here. We can just click on this root directory, and we can see save this file anywhere, because we as a user are choosing the specific directory for it. So I am giving explicitly implicitly uh, permission for the app to save this file to any location. So that's why it is allowed without permission. And here you can see my custom file.txt file name has also been entered here. So now I just click on downloads, and here I have created this file earlier, not downloads. Let me go to movies folder and click on save here. So the file is stored in the movies location. Now how we can see it? Simply by going to the file manager. So just click on files and directory, where it is called movies, and you can see my custom file.txt, and I'll just click on this one, and this is the file content written using SAF. So this is the same file which we have just created using SAF. So this is how SAF works. I hope now you have clear understanding about all of the things. I have summed up all of the things in this one tutorial, so that you can watch this single tutorial and have complete idea about how the internal external storage and how scope storage works in Android. So this is how storage system works in Android before and after introduction of the scope storage. I hope the things are now very clear to you. I have invested a lot of my efforts in this tutorial, so I hope this will clear your all concept. If still you still have some doubts, you can put your concerns in the comment box below. I will try my best to answer those. If you like this video, then please click on like, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you will be stay updated whenever such a new amazing video will be published. We'll meet in the next tutorial with some another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye, happy good.